As a man who's driven an SLS GT3 for 24 hours at Spa, I've never actually driven a road-going Mercedes, something that I'm not going to be mentioning today because I've been invited by SL Shop to drive their brand spanking new Restomod 300 SL. I'm super excited to have a go from the people who, as you see around us, have a little bit of an idea about this unbroken model line since the mid-50s. I can't wait to sample it. Looks fantastic, but I need to learn a little bit about it first. Francis.
Alex, how's it going? Nice to meet you.
Great, great, great. So tell me a little bit about this thing. I need a good old learning curve on these.
Absolutely.
So tell me what I'm looking at.
So this is a 300 SL Sportline in signal red with beige leather. It's a completely one-off build. It was the first of its kind. So this is essentially the first Sportline we built. It is a sympathetic reimagination of the R107, which is a cult SL known around the world for its kind of unique styling, that angular styling, and we've kind of transformed it into a bit more of a performance-focused 107.
So you've got the inline-six engine,
Yep.
5-speed manual gearbox.
Absolutely.
What else have you reimagined in terms of the car as it sits now?
So we've revised the injection system, fitted a new crankshaft, lightened and balanced flywheel. We've altered the stance, so the handling is completely different to the bit more kind of floaty 107 handling that everyone's used to. I mean, ultimately these cars were built as Grand Tourers, not as kind of road-focused performance cars. So we've done a lot of kind of sympathetic adjustments to it to make it handle better and for it to kind of perform a bit more kind of aggressively.
So how was that driven? Who was asking you to do this? Is it something that your customers have come to you and said, we love the car, we love the model line, we just want something a little sharper, and then you've gone ahead and delivered that for them?
The 107 has some race heritage, or rally heritage should I say, and we wanted to tap into that and kind of turn it into something that we could offer to enthusiasts around the world.
Race heritage. Now we're talking. So talk to me about power then. How much are we kicking out?
So it's sitting at 255 horsepower. As I've probably kind of emphasised before, Alex, we didn't want to create something that was over the top and uncontrollable. It was about allowing the driver to just really tune in with the car and the road and allow it to be a bit more engaging. Not something that's going to terrify you. You can still drive it across long distances, but when you want to really go for it, you can.
In terms of a manual gearbox, so many of the original cars obviously spec'd with an automatic. Can you have either option here, or is this a manual car for an enthusiast?
I think this particular setup suits the manual gearbox. For some of the rally spec commissions we've built, the owners have sometimes opted to keep the automatic gearbox, but obviously you've still got the flexibility to shift as you please.
So I'm an owner. I want one of these. I've come to you and I'm suitably funded. What can I choose here? What can I spec? What can I have?
So it really depends how far you want to go. We would start with a donor car. So as with most kind of processes like this, you'd bring us a car or we'd source you one. And depending on the condition of that car, it could be something that was maybe a barn find and you wanted to completely restore it from the ground up because you wanted to enjoy that process. Or you might just bring us your father's car that you've inherited and it's in pretty good nick, and we can do colour change, we can alter the interior. As you can see, we've kind of upgraded the interior with Alcantara here as well as leather. We've changed the dash, we've added that double stitching that's kind of reminiscent of the kind of more modern Mercedes models. Revised steering wheel, a newer, slightly different steering wheel to those that are found on the original cars. That's from an exterior perspective. We can go change the suspension setup, so you can go as low as you want. You can tune it as much as you like. So we can do ECU, kind of work as well. There is a lot that can be done, and to keep going, we would be here for a while. But this, we've kept it iconic with the signal red, which is what this car is known as in this colour. The famous Bobby Ewing, if you're familiar. I mean, it's before my time and probably yours as well, but everyone knows this car in this colour. And then we've gone for the contrasting hard top. So as you probably know, these have 3 stages. You've got without the roof up, you've got the soft top, and then you've got the hard top. So it's quite a versatile vehicle.
Cool. I love the styling. I love the car. We could go on for ages. You could tell me all about it, or I could jump in and drive it. And I think I know what I want to do. I can't wait to see how the car performs. And yeah, let's jump in and shift some gears. Thank you.
Good stuff.
So much. Looking forward to it. Wow, what a gorgeous place to sit. Prototype example, clearly been used, but presented absolutely immaculately by SL Shop. They obviously knew we were coming. Driving position, nice and firm, but with a bit of space to sit in. Big old steering wheel, trimmed slightly differently from the original, but still has that period feel. Originals didn't tend to have the manual gearbox either, but again, presented beautifully. The car really wants to be cruised in and wants to get out on the road. It's sumptuous in here. It feels like a car for the long haul, and you've got so much visibility from all angles because of these dinky little A-pillars. I want to get out there and drive this thing and feel if the modifications they've made to it really sharpen her up. So, Francis from SL Shop tells me with all of the engine modifications that they've done, this will rev cleanly through to 7,000 RPM. Let's check that out, shall we? I tell you what, that is quick by any standards. I need to check the curb weight when we get back to the factory. But that is moving, and what's even more impressive is the power delivery right up high. It just keeps on revving and revving and revving through. I love an inline 6 engine. The way it delivers power ignores you till 4,000. You have to give it a bit of a prod and go, yes, hello, I'd like some performance please. And then over that, it just keeps on revving all the way to the red line. So when you do move through the rev range, you get this gorgeous raspy engine note out of the inline 6, which I can definitely get on board with. Power delivery is lovely, and the noise of the car really fills the cockpit, kind of reverberates around this glass box you sit in. You get the sense as you sit in the car that everyone else can hear the engine working as well. And it must sound absolutely glorious from outside. I'm not sure whether I want to be sat in it or just listening to it. Driving position is period, shall we say. Although, when you sit in the car initially, you think, what on earth is this? You're super high. Seat doesn't go any lower than this, trust me, I've tried. You're a little bit Sterling Moss on the arms, but that's totally great. You get out on the road and all of a sudden it all makes sense. I'm reclined. I'm a German businessman in my smoking jacket, and I'm heading off down the Autobahn to my next business meeting, and it has a total relaxation to it, the driving position of the car, which you really can't grasp until you've sat in it. The brakes on this car are seriously impressive as well. I mean, you've got a decent amount of car and quite a long wheelbase as well. They've tweaked the front brakes especially to give them a little bit more cooling. I suspect if you use them hard, they still overheat. Although there is a little bit of rally pedigree to this whole thing. They do put together some rally cars down at the SL shop for some very passionate customers. But the brakes are just so super sharp, especially over the front axle, with a little bit more caliper in the front, a little bit more caliper in the rear, and then a bit of a modern tune-up to the braking system. Steering, slow speed, has weight to it. It's really firm, and then comes alive at high speed, and that's probably a factor of how the front end's been tweaked to make this car a little more sporty. This car's been lowered around 70 millimeters, so it's nice and tight. Front points in. There are various other little suspension tweaks as well to give you that little bit more point and squirt rather than the floaty waft I'm sure the original 300 SLs slightly suffered with. But the front geometry is absolutely beautiful. It turns in, it kind of picks up its inside front wheel, it rolls in, but there's no complaint from the rear. Limited slip diff, as some of the later cars had in period, but this car definitely does, and I suspect it's been souped up and tweaked up a little just to give that nice pivot through the middle of the corners. No complaints about the handling of this car. Absolutely fantastic. No complaints about the brakes. A couple of things that I would tweak if I had my own specific one of these. Throttle application. Just at the bottom end, I chug off the mark a little bit, and I would want the front end of the throttle map just softened up ever so slightly as a cruiser, although this sharper map does give me a real ability to drive this like a sports car, and absolute control over the car in the higher gears. I'd love a little bit of a tighter gearbox, but as a total experience of driving a period car sorted out for modern roads, I can drive this as though it was a Volkswagen Golf. I can drive this as though it was a 3 Series BMW. I'm not thinking about this as a period car at all when I'm driving down the road, apart from the pleasure of hearing that engine note, apart from the pleasure of enjoying the vintage visibility, apart from the pleasure of watching everybody else check it out going, what is that thing, as I go along in my two-tone red and black boxy Merc. What a beautiful example of a legend, and what a fantastic car to have the opportunity to drive.